and welcome to The Necessities. I'm your host, Vanessa Costantino, and today's segment will involve student athletes and the mental health issues that they struggle with. This is a sensitive topic today because not only have we seen athletes struggle in this department, but celebrities have even come forward and spoken about their mental health troubles. I'm here with Erin Coleman to talk about her inside look on how we can limit the pressure that sits on the shoulder of student athletes. So Erin, as a student athlete yourself, how do you think mental health has affected college students?
Mental health has affected athletes in numerous ways. The pressure to be the best and win games while juggling social life and academia is extremely grueling on college athletes. First, we should talk about the pressure to be perfect, followed by the incidents in which the pressures have gotten too large. Finally, let's talk about ways in which we can help prevent these issues.
You know, there are so many things that you have to worry about. Understanding and promoting college student-athlete health is an article that I was reading, and it really incorporated something that stood out to me. As a student-athlete, you guys are representing the school, so what is that like when it comes to pressure for you?
Our coaches were always making sure we weren't getting in trouble because we were there to represent the school. We weren't allowed to make mistakes or mess up because there is a lot at stake. You can lose your scholarship, your spot on the team, or altogether your education if you get suspended. You always have to be on. You're fighting for a spot on the field, and when you're on the field, you're fighting to make sure that you can get in that top 10 rank or that playoff spot at the end of the season. Every game counts. There are no days off.
But what about school? How does that take effect? I know the Adlers are authors of From Idealism to Pragmatic Detachment, and they talked about that performance of the college athlete and how fatigue and restricted time was the biggest issue when it came to school.
You know, Vanessa, they're right. Most student athletes, whether in season or out of season, you're balancing a 20-hour week, whether it's a 3-hour practice, 5 days a week, you have classes, you have lifts. There's so much to be done within so many hours of the day that we're allowed that it gets really, really hard. And we're fortunate enough to have coaches and trainers who try to make the best of it, but at the end of the day, it's still extremely exhausting.
And we're back, welcoming Scott Goldman, a certified trainer at the NCAA level. Welcome, Scott. Come on.
Woo! Scott!
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Vanessa.
Thanks for being on the show. Now, Scott, tell us what you've seen in being a certified trainer. You probably see a lot at the college level, and what these athletes go through is a little upsetting. What can you tell me?
Well, you know, Vanessa, it's not uncommon for athletes to suffer from anxiety. 1 in 3 adolescents suffer from this issue. For athletes, the thoughts and feelings that induce anxiety tend to be about the future. Student athletes are constantly worried about the future and failing. I believe that if we can diagnose these symptoms, then we can limit this type of negative thought.
I also knew a runner named Courtney, and she made a big blog regarding these mental issues. As a primary source, she talked about how if the athletic department wanted to make mental health a serious issue, then they need to come with an alternatives for people who need them. Having a resource page in an hour-long meeting about compliance isn't enough. Making a nutritionist or therapist available is a good start, but it still isn't enough. These problems don't get solved with one psychiatrist meeting.
What do you think, Scott?
I think social work within the athletic realm is a key factor in decreasing the mental health ordeals that athletes can endure. Leonard Zukowski wrote an article about sports psychology that says the most useful skills tend to be learned by student athletes include goal setting, imagery, relaxation, self-talk, attention concentration, and commitment to rigorous practice. A sports psychologist can help guide these athletes in these directions and make these strengths over weaknesses.
Well, Scott, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate you coming
Thanks,
to talk
Scott.
to
Thanks
us
for having
and giving
me,
us your
Scott.
insight on what you see at the collegiate level.
No problem. Thank you.
Let's give her another round of applause for Scott, everybody. Scott made some great points. What do you think about what he said before?
You know, he made a really good point. Social workers can bring much more than advice to athletes. They're outlets for them to vent their other issues and feel safe while trying to vent about certain issues. Because, you know, in the locker room, everything's a competition. Whether it's on the field or off the field, there's going to be competition, and talking about things that bring you down is not something that you want to discuss, so it's hard. And these social workers can help students manage their time, overcome development crisis, and cope with their difficulties related with balancing academics and the athletic world.
I agree. It's definitely really nice to have an outlet and someone that you can talk to, someone you can confide in and talk to about these stressors that these athletes are going through every day. And I think that if we can do this, we can limit some of those stressors. We can help athletes if we recognize it. We can find out how they're affected, and then we can seek help before it's too late.
Definitely. Ultimately, we must take note that everyone is finding mental health a battle. Whether it's something huge, something small, everyone is going through something, and it doesn't matter how big it is. But at the end of the day, it's not going to get fixed overnight, and it's been an issue for so long, and finally it's been becoming more of an apparent issue that I'm happy that people are talking about, because when you start the conversation, things can start getting fixed.
Well, you heard it here, folks. With our special guests, we covered so much today. We talked about the causes of mental health disorders, the traumatic effects, and finally, we talked about a way that we can make a change. Mental health has become a serious issue in today's world, and it's vital that we should have some type of change. If we can learn about the mental health for athletes, then we can limit traumatic occasions, and we can just learn to just be ourselves and feel comfortable within our own skin. I think that athletes put up this facade that they're tough and they're strong, but a lot of them are fighting this internal battle. And I hope that we can learn to make a change one day or another. So, Erin, thank you for joining us on our
Thanks for
show.
having me, Vanessa.
Let's give a round of applause to Erin, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. You heard it here this morning on The Necessities, and we'll see you tomorrow morning, everybody.